This week, Nayara Energy, a private Indian refiner partly owned by Russia's Rosneft, became the first Indian firm hit by new European Union sanctions. Now, the fallout rippled from shipments to emails. Let's break down what happened and why it matters. EU sanctions, what changed and why? Now, on July 18th, the EU imposed sanctions targeting Russian energy dealings. Now, that included Nayara's Vadinar refinery, 49% owned by Rosneft. As of now, it handles over 400,000 barrels per day, making it India's second largest single-site refinery. These sanctions prohibit imports into the EU of fuel refined from Russian oil, even if processed outside Russia, and in this case, India. It also restricts access to shipping, insurance, as well as EU financial services. There's also an impact on operations and shipping. The impact, in fact, was immediate. Nayara reduced refinery runs to 70 to 80% capacity, down from over 100% earlier in the year, due to traders refusing its fuel and storage constraints. Shipping companies like Seven Islands Shipping and GESCO asked to end tanker contracts unable to insure or dock vessels handling Nayara cargo. Next up, Microsoft service suspension and a legal fight. EU action triggered a ripple effect. Microsoft suspended IT services, including Outlook and Teams, for Nayara employees. The company alleges it lost access to its own fully paid software and data. In response, Nayara filed a legal petition in Delhi High Court seeking an interim injunction to restore services. They described Microsoft's move as abrupt and without consultation. Then came service restoration after market pressure. By July 29th and 30th, Microsoft reversed course. It restored email and Teams services, citing ongoing dialogue with the EU for service continuity. Now, this followed Nayara's legal filing. Now, while internal communications resumed, emails and archived data remained inaccessible, prompting Nayara to temporarily rely on Indian tech firm Rediff.com, though without legacy records. And finally, India's Russian oil strategy and Nayara's export capability. Now, consider the bigger picture. India is the largest buyer of Russian seaborne crude since the Ukraine war. Nayara is a key processor, handling around 72% Russian grades. It handles about 8% of India's total refining capacity and exports roughly 4 million barrels per month, mainly to Asia and Africa, not the EU. Now, these sanctions, though EU-centric, severely disrupt India's fuel supply chain, especially given how integral Nayara is to domestic refinery throughout its throughput as well as the export markets. And then there are the stakes of operational, legal, and sovereignty questions. Now, this episode raises a few larger questions. Can a global corporation like Microsoft preemptively terminate services based on a foreign legal framework without legal obligation in India? Nayara says no, it can't. Now, industrially, the firm faced CEO turnover, supply chain backups, and a crippled distribution network, ringing alarm bells for India's fuel resilience. Politically too, India regards EU sanctions as unilateral as well as unjust. The government has affirmed that it does not recognize EU restrictions, though economic realities say otherwise. So what next in this saga? Here's the bottom line. Nayara is still struggling with tanker logistics, storage pressure, limited exports, and legacy data loss. Legal proceedings continue in Delhi courts. Meanwhile, India may seek diplomatic routes or alternate supply chains, not just for energy security, but to assert data sovereignty in a global digital economy. This isn't just about a refinery or sanctions. It's about how geopolitics collide with commerce and how an Indian company becomes the test case for foreign policy in technology and in energy.